Hi, I wanted to do a quick run through of the Upscale Studio platform. Very quickly on the left-hand side, you can see that the application is broken out into three main sections. The first part, which we're going to spend the most time in, is Studio. That's where we help a brand manage their brand assets, their media assets, and obviously develop creatives. The second section over here on the left-hand side are campaigns. Those are the streaming campaigns that we run and optimize on behalf of the brands, including additional audiences that either they've developed on platform or pulled in from other CRM or other types of backend systems of record. And then insights, which is where they can not only see the performance and specific details about the campaign, they also can go in and see specific conversion journeys as we track what happens from the TV impression to the eventual purchase, and then creative insights, which reveals a lot of how the performance of the specific creatives are and things to do to optimize that. So jumping in here, when a brand onboards to the platform, we automatically use, for example, their website, an uploaded style guide, and have the AI actually extract as much information as possible. You can see stuff about the way that they talk, the tone, who they're targeting as a core customer, a lot of the specific copy that eventually we can leverage with the creation of the TV ad, as well as information from specifically the style guide, things like fonts, colors, and even logos we could extract automatically. A lot of the magic of the system, if I move over to the asset section, is automatically pulling in, again, from multiple sources, whether it's from Meta, from Shopify. Here, we're, again, trying to, as much as possible, leverage everything that we can to kind of access the existing assets from the brand themselves. And what we do is actually run that through AI to help us, in some ways, watch the video so we actually know what it's about. So if I click into any of these specific elements, you notice that we provide a lot of metadata from descriptions about what this specific video is, detected objects, different categories, and to the extent that there are transcripts available on the specific pieces of media themselves. And as a kind of a preview into how our platform actually puts together or selects assets to be used in the TV creative, users can basically access all of the individual capabilities here within the assets manager. So you can do things, for example, say, hey, I'd love to look for any assets that are really related to easy assembly. And then the system will do a semantic search across all of the media and come up with stuff that's applicable. So here, for example, we'll locate clips of information here. For example, this is particularly permanent, is particularly relevant. So if I click into here, I'll notice, okay,
It has a built-in cable management feature.
we have the user inside this specific asset actually talking about how easy it is to basically use this desk from an assembly perspective. This is extremely powerful. Other things that you can do that, again, the system does when we go to create the actual creative is to be able to find, for example, specific pieces of content, if it's an image, and then we can do again, similarity search to find images that are very similar. And is obviously really useful when we're trying to present that inside of a creative. So if I go find similar, then you can similarly see that we're finding existing image assets that can match that pretty carefully. Okay, so let's jump into the core of the studio system. And here I'll view all of the templates, all of the creatives. And you can see that in this account, we've got multiple creatives. And that's actually very typical as we work with brands where they're generating not only variations as different overall storyboards, which is the overall narrative structure, but also you can generate a lot of different iterations. That obviously powers a lot of our optimization when we run streaming campaigns. And at the end of the day, like the goal is to help these brands actually make better creative. We can go through the new creative flow so users can develop it. And we're really kind of modeling the way that the process by which you actually develop a creative, which is not just, hey, here's a bunch of assets, go, I feel lucky, generate something new. But we actually walk through the process of understanding what is the purpose of the creative. A lot of that is captured in the brief. So is there a specific goal? Are there specific products to showcase? Is this creative meant for a certain audience, whether it's a description of the audience, or we even have the ability to have encapsulated in the brief the idea of, for example, retargeting. Hey, folks who potentially visit a website, visit a specific product, or someone who potentially even has put something inside of their cart, like here. But presumably, we can come back here, we can tweak it. You can change the different types of value props that we'll use to be driving any creative developed off of this brief. And at the end of the day, you can actually go ahead and generate concepts, which again uses all the metadata that we understand about the brand, from their brand assets, tone, everything, to the specifics of the brief. And here you can see that we leverage, again, the LLMs to develop the concepts. You can also access the saved ones, where we've got a couple here that we can use, load that in, and then we can go ahead and select a storyboard. And ultimately, I'll click here so you can see the different storyboards that we provide. It's really the combination of the brief, the concepts, and the storyboard that will help our platform generate a really high quality creative. So you can see here, I can select either 30 or 15-second versions, and then I can also select a very specific storyboard for use. So there's also different modes that we can put this in to either do completely generation of all the different aspects of the creative, or we can actually go through and specify them specifically. But in general, the process is that we have a flow in which the AI attempts to generate the storyboards, the scripts, all the stuff that goes into it. So you'll end up with something that kind of looks like this, which is kind of almost like a Canva or Gamma, if you've used that type of interface, which does a lot of the asset selection, does do, for example, the automatic generation of the scripts, and then allows the user to obviously tweak it. In general, the AI, depending on how much data it has to work with, how much historical information it has, can do almost 70 to 80% of the generation of any given TV creative. But of course, at 15, 20%, to take it up to 100% and have something that's approvable, we offer the interface to be able to do that completely. So again, you can do things like specifically go in, make edits, change the specific voiceover. So here I can do something like say, hey, I would make this a bit younger, hipper, use Gen Z lingo, and then actually tell the AI to do this. And again, this is how the storyboard comes into play, because we're structuring this off of a narrative. So it makes a lot more sense than just saying, hey, generate a bunch of stuff. And so you'll notice that the copy can change. And here, for instance, you can, if you don't like Jessica and you want someone who's a little bit different, you can go there, automatically generate the AI voiceover, and then go ahead and actually see what that's like. The other thing I'll point out here is we also can either dynamically or manually generate media suggestions, which really drive the asset selection. So here, I'll just go ahead and play this. You suddenly have a new voice with a new script with those changes incorporated.
It's time to upgrade your workspace, level up your day. Branch furniture, smart, ergonomic, and super stylish. Easy assemble and free shipping, because your time is money.
Love my new branch standing duo desk and daily chair.
Cool. So again, if we go back to the creative, the other things that you can do that are really powerful, all of those individual assets you can see are here. And for example, let's say I wanted to find a different UGC highlight for this scene. AI is baked in. If you're not happy with what's selected, you can actually click what we call the sparkle button. And then what you'll notice here is that we generate a set of new suggestions, again, based on the appropriateness, and finding you something where, for example, okay, I actually want to stress, and this one stresses, for example, the easy assembly. And so what I can do is simply drag and drop this directly into the place in the storyboard and then make further edits. And I also can see where the transcript is. If this was obviously a slightly longer one, I would be able to actually adjust some of the specifics or highlight specific elements. So that's in general how we approach that process. And then once you've made the edits you want, whether they're kind of text adjustments, things that you want to put here instead of, you can quickly swap out the text copy. And then that's obviously very powerful for end cards as well, where you can make a lot of iterations by simply changing the specific elements with it and keeping the rest of the TV creative storyboard intact. And then once you're done, you will regenerate the creative until you're happy with it and then actually click approve. That's the overall process. I'll just go ahead and kick off this regeneration so you can take a look at what that looks like, but I'll use the intervening time when they're doing the rendering to talk about some of the other parts of the product. As mentioned at the very beginning, like you have campaigns. Here, for example, we may be running multiple campaigns with different objectives. In general, folks will run retargeting campaigns. That's usually when a consumer's engaged with you. We can pick specific different types of creative that are more targeted towards folks who have already engaged, spent time potentially on the website, remarketing campaigns where potentially you're trying to upsell, and then of course, customer acquisition campaigns. And as you can see, we also will be pulling from either audience segments that have been developed with us. So whether it's a pixel that creates a specific audience or stuff that we can pull from Klaviyo or something else appears there. And then finally, on the performance side, you have a full self-serve platform to explore the different performance metrics as tied to your campaign. And again, we're very performance centric. So we've got things like CPA, ROAS. You can do this comparisons across time. You can drill in deeper, and we're transparent about all the inventory you run on. So you can see all these key stats broken out by the specific apps and device types, things like that. Our attribution, again, is a type of, I would say, multi-touch attribution. But what it allows us to do is to provide the user with this kind of conversion journey. So if I go click in on any one of these, I can see that, for example, we served a TV ad impression on the 22nd, and all of the different types of things that we've instrumented and see, they end up viewing the product a bunch of times that same day, adding it to carts, going to email, and eventually making that purchase. Obviously, we have only a certain picture of it, but this is super powerful because brands, again, can download this information and also validate it against typically Shopify or their system of record for orders. And then finally, I'll look at kind of creative insights very quickly. Again, this is really also a big heart of the platform. And this is really where you can dig in and see all of your different creatives and how they perform by different statistics. And of course, this underlying data is how we have the machine learning eventually learn, hey, maybe it's different segments of inventory, maybe it's for different campaign goals, or even different other types of information. Maybe different creatives actually have a bigger benefit to do things like, for example, drive a lower CPV or a higher ROAS, or potentially even have higher other kinds of statistics. That's the system overall in a nutshell. But again, it's just worth keeping in mind, everything is meant to be holistic. We don't develop creative just for the sake of developing pretty creative. Of course, it has to pass that brand muster. But the reality is our platform is designed to help brands develop on-brand creatives that actually perform. And so now we're back here in the creative and you can see it's finished regenerating. So let's go ahead and play it. And just as a reminder, it'll incorporate changes for the new asset plus some text changes that we made. So here we go.
Tired of your plain old workspace? Introducing Branch Furniture's Office Essentials. From standing desks to risers, enhance your office and make every day more productive.
This desk is really sturdy. It was easy to set up and I'm really liking the fit.
Customers love our easy assembly and free shipping. But it's the all-day office comfort that wins the day. Everyone's upgrading their home office. Visit branchfurniture.com and use promo code STAN25 for 25% off.
Cool. Thanks for watching. And reach out if you have any questions. Thanks.